Good afternoon. Welcome to another one of Isa's fireside chats. As you can see, I'm not sitting by a fire. It's 100 and something outside. It's roasty. And the chickens have been very loud. I don't know what about the heat, but they don't seem to be tired and napping. They're clucking very loud. So I've retreated back into my house. And I have no fire in my living room. But I do have a topic. So I've been waiting to record this topic for a while. I've been asked about it quite a few times. I just started waiting for me not to be the week after I just visited a club or something. I didn't want any one club to feel I was picking on them. So I sort of waited till the investor season was over. And a few different people asked me about this topic, and thank you guys for asking. I thought people didn't really were interested in my fireside chats, but after I started up again, I got a lot of response about how people missed them, and like, yeah, why'd you stop doing them? I never meant to stop. I always like, next week I'll do another one. I'll do another one next week, and it just turned out to be 2 years. It's just 100 weeks of next week. But I'm trying to record one a week. Sometimes I record more than one a week, and I save one for the next week so I can publish it. So, but I'm doing a small series on this one. This is on respect. Okay? I've had leaders complain about leaders not respecting leaders, kids not respecting leaders, leaders not respecting their kids. I've also had people complain about respect in the flag and asking certain things are necessary when in the uniform. And so we're just going to go over some of the basic etiquettes and respect when in Pathfinders. And some of it would apply, I guess, to life in general. So sit back, have a listen. Feel free to post your thoughts at the end of the video. You guys like to send your thoughts to me, but I'd like you guys to post the thoughts at the end of the video so other people can read them and we can get a bit of a discussion going. Because that's one thing I love about sitting around a fireside is I can put out an idea, but then we have a discussion. People ask questions, they give feedback, their personal view, their stories. And it makes for a nice evening when you have a good fireside talk. So, here's the one on. We're going to start our respect with our leadership discussion. So, with our leadership, titles. Okay? When we refer to somebody, when we introduce somebody, there's certain etiquette in titles. The first thing is one should always introduce somebody by their highest title, if they have more than one, or their most relevant title in the moment. Okay? And I've had some issues. I know some of the other leaders have had issues. It was actually an area coordinator asked me to talk about this one specifically. And, I have many titles. Well, I'll pick on me so that people don't feel like I'm picking on them, okay? I'll take one for the team here. So, what titles do I hold? I'm club ministry director for the Nevada Utah Conference, right? But I was an area coordinator. I gave up that title, so I don't have that one anymore, right? But I'm also a head elder at my local church, right? I'm a school board member for our church school. But I'm also the janitor. That's a title, janitor. I'm a janitor, but I'm also a dad, right? I'm a dad. Let's see, do I got any more titles? A lot of people refer to my last name like it's a title, or Mr. Vernon or Master Guide. Those can be titles as well, right? But which one you use in certain circumstances can be respectful or disrespectful. And I'm going to assume most people don't mean to be disrespectful, but I unfortunately know there is some that are. So if I walk up to somebody, a club leader or something. They say, here's Mr. Vernon. He's our... Well, let's go worst case scenario. Let's just drop this to the bottom. Let's say he says, here's Mr. Vernon. He works with our church school. He's the janitor. Now, I'm there. Let's say what's the club setting. I'm there as the club ministry director of the conference, right? So, how's the respect level here showing, right? That would be terrible. Now, I never actually had that one happen to me. Close, though. Pretty close. I've been invited to churches and people introduced me as a master guide. Wow, that described half the leadership in the conference, didn't it? I've had I remember our local church school board, right? And I've been at the school and had fellow members of the school board actually introduce me to new visitors to the school as the janitor. I'm a school board member. That would technically be my highest title. You would say, here's Mr. Vernon, he's a school board member, and if you want to mention the janitorial, and he's been good enough to do the janitorial for us for the last few years. See, that way you respect the title and maybe what I'm doing. Maybe when they happen to meet me, I'm emptying a garbage can. And you're like, so you want to explain why this board member's, but you don't want to lower somebody to the bottom, right? Let's say, we had a pastor. He was a math teacher, right? But he was also a pastor. And you would introduce him as Pastor so-and-so. You would never, ever introduce him as math teacher so-and-so. If you wanted to mention math, you'd say, here's Pastor Jones. He's the pastor of Central, and he's the math teacher for upper grades at Summit right now. That's how you would mention that he's doing math if you felt that was a point that you needed to mention, right? A lot of us have other jobs outside of club ministries, and it is important that we are respectful of titles and respectful of where people are from and how they relate to each other, right? I remember we had a pastor who had lost the respect of his congregation, and one of his congregation members, or somebody said something, and the pastor said something, and he responded back, well, he is this, right? And somebody else corrected him, you mean the pastor is? He's like, not my pastor. Like, he is your pastor. You haven't transferred your membership. He's your pastor. But the guy was mad, and he refused to have the respect and decency to at least call him by his title. You can be mad at somebody, but still respect the title. Pastor is an office, and it deserves a certain amount of respect, right? And the really sad thing is this church member got in the habit of not calling the pastor, and when that church got a new pastor, he didn't call that pastor either. He just referred to him by his last name. And it really rubbed a lot of people that he would not call pastors pastor anymore. And people were like, whoa, what's wrong with this guy, right? He's your pastor. And best I could tell, the new pastor, he didn't have anything against him. He just was out of the habit of calling the pastor from all his years of not calling the other pastor. So he developed a really bad habit there. So, this is important in front of our leadership. When we're in front and we're doing things, the kids notice these things, right? So when the kids notice that your deference to a title, when you respect it, then it ups the respect the kids tend to have as well. Well, there's something when children follow examples, and they do it very subconsciously. So if they see somebody slight the title of somebody, they don't necessarily in their mind think, oh my, we get to slight so and so. They just in their mind they subconsciously think, oh, I don't have to call her Mr. or Mrs. or I don't have to call director so and so, or I don't have to refer to area coordinator, or they just, oh, that's just insert name, that's just Mr. Vernon, that's just any of our area coordinators. Just put your own name in there, Mark, Mary, Angelica, Alejandra. Just put anybody's name in there, right? It just their name, the mindset changes when they see leaders not using proper titles, because in their mind suddenly they don't have to use a proper title. They don't subconsciously sit there and think, well, Director Joe did not refer to Mary as area coordinator Converse. He called her Mary, so I get to call her Mary too. They don't have a logic thought like that. It just seeps in. It just subconsciously. And we know the meaning of the word subconscious means you're not actually thinking logically about it. It's just something going on in the background, right? And sometimes with our staff, it can be just something of familiarity, right? So I'm guilty of this. I'll be too casual with somebody's name because we work together, and like on conference calls, we don't refer to each other, right? I don't say area coordinator Mark has his hand up. Assistant area coordinator Delnita has a question. We're not that formal in our formal meetings, right? We're just like, hey, Mary has a question. Alejandra wanted to comment, and we just use each other's names in the meeting there. But when we leave that confine of that meeting, when we get up in front of a club, that's not how we should refer to each other, right? Let's say I'm a investiture at name any club in our conference, Abundant Life, Wasatch Hills, Servants of God, which any club, right? And let's say we have multiple guests. We have an area coordinator. I'm there as club minister director, maybe another area coordinator. You got, when we refer to each other up front, though, it needs to be proper. It needs to be, and club ministry director, ESO Vernon, club ministry director in that Utah conference has the opening prayer. Or area coordinator Mark Sanchez is going to bring us a special message from the conference. Or area coordinator Mary Converse is about to give us a dedication of the master guides. But it should be formal. We should have their name. It should focus on the last name. Some people, they go by their first name most of the time, right? There are people that's how they prefer to be addressed. So you can respect that. But when in doubt, go with the last name, right? Mr., Mrs., area coordinator. All right? When we show those deferences, when we show the respect for the title, it gives the position a little more, what's the word I want to look for? It's it elevates the position a bit. It pulls it out of the daily into something special, right? And so it is something that we need to teach the children by example. And sometimes I'm pretty sure most of us don't mean to get too casual with names, but it is something we need to watch out for. I remember when I was a kid, man. When I was a kid, if I didn't use Mr. or Mrs., my parents dropped on me like a ton of bricks. And I'd say, he said to call him Joe. And Mom's like, I don't care what he said. He's still Mr. Smith. You don't call him Joe. But he said to. I'm like, man, that Joe character just got me in a lot of trouble. Well, I knew the rules. Mom's rule was, until we really knew somebody, we could not call them Mr. or Mrs. And even if we knew them, it was still Mr. or Mrs. pretty much. I remember, my grandmother. Whoa, I mean, she was stricter than my parents, but but you see it in the world today at large. So it's not just in our church. Like, you see people like, he's not my president, I didn't vote for him. Are you not American anymore? Did you go join another country? We elect the guy in charge, and you may not agree with the results. You might not agree with his policy, but he's still president. He's your president, unless you're claiming not to be American. And right, so by disrespecting the office like that, you're lowering the standard there, and other people around see it too. And it's funny that people, there's always a race to the bottom. When people detect disrespect, other people, you'll use the same disrespect or more disrespect. I don't know what it is about races to the bottom when it comes to attitude and stuff like that, but people do. They just go down, 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 down. If you don't believe me, watch cable news. I don't care which station, right, left, whatever, they're all a race to the bottom, right? They're just like, whoa. Oh, some respect people. I mean, you can think he's an outright liar and still respect his title. It's the in the neighborhood. We had a mayor for a while, lost respect for the community, and people didn't want to refer to him as mayor anymore. They're like, well, he's still your mayor until we vote him out, and they did. But he was mayor so-and-so, but people would drop it because they were upset with his policies or whatever. But when we lose respect, it's not just the titles that start slipping. Our attitude, how we work with people, it all changes, because when you let go of the titles, your mentally inside, your attitude down in your heart also will start to change too. You're not as willing to work with somebody. You're not willing to do what they ask, or you're not willing to deal with their agenda or whatever, right? We've had I've seen entire Pathfinder clubs completely march to a beat of a different drum, just like, no, we know, not that agenda. We're going this way, and you hear it in how they refer to people, how they address people. I remember once I was trying to let somebody know that they had done something wrong, right? And the guy shot back like, "We're all master guides here. Who put you in charge?" I was like, the conference? My fellow area coordinators, the group of us, were, I was asked to do this job. That's why I'm in charge. And if you want to know what signifies I'm in charge, just be the 3 stars right here. And he's like, "We're all master guides. I don't see why you get to tell us what to do." I was like, whoa, back off. What is wrong with you, right? And the guy was completely wrong, too. I mean, the guy was 110% wrong and disrespectful and belligerent. And this character has been this way for years. Anytime I try to avoid him, because he doesn't call me director or club ministry director, or he doesn't use even Mister. I mean, he is completely belligerent, and the youth he works with also tend to follow his example, and it's real sad. So we got to set the example from the top down, right? So like how me and the youth director talk to each other, or especially in public. But Rudy just left a while ago, but you guys would notice in public, me and Pastor Rudy were very specific. Pastor Rudy, Director ESO, or Club Ministry Director ESO. We tried to be very formal about the titles each other had, so we weren't undermining each other, and that was deliberate. Right? We did not want people to see a lack of respect for the offices, because when you have people with lack of respect for the offices, the people in those offices have to work twice as hard to get their stuff done. And maybe you have somebody that has disrespect for one officer, but then you watch them, they'll start disrespecting the other officers. So they have an issue with Officer A, but then you watch him, and then you're like, wait a minute, now he's disrespecting this area coordinator. And then you realize, oh, wait, he's disrespecting that area coordinator. Or, oh, she isn't, respecting her area coordinator. Oh, and then we watch her, oh, wait, it's not just her area coordinator she's not respecting, it's another one. And you'll see they usually start, you watch. And those of us who've been in leadership for years, we've watched it, and that's what was mentioned to me is you see it start small, and they start with one person, right? And they're like, disrespect, but then you're like, wait a minute, oh, it's creeping out. Now she's disrespecting somebody else. Oh, now he's doing it again over here. Oh, they moved, they switched churches, and guess what? They're doing the same thing. Didn't even give the new guy a chance because they were too used to not respecting, right? It becomes a habit. So one thing we have to do as leaders is call it out when we see it. And I know it's a bit tacky, but when somebody doesn't address you properly, the first thing you should do is correct them. And I know sometimes we just want to keep the peace, right? We're like, but what we're buying a minute apiece now for sometimes years worth of disrespect. And with years of disrespect, it's very hard to keep the peace. It's very hard if you have to settle a dispute between two clubs if one club doesn't even respect you as a leader, right? You need to have, you need to have people willing to respect the title. If they're willing to respect the title, it goes a long, long ways to be able to do your job. So, somebody introduces you wrong, it's okay to correct them when you stand up to the mic. Like, and we have Master Guide Mary here to talk to us about adventures. Mary, if you stand up to the mic, you say, hey, greetings, everyone. I'm Mary Converse, area coordinator. Throw that title right out there. There. And I do this. See that as an example, right? See? You want to correct it. You don't have to be rude about how you correct it, but you want to be firm about what title should have been used, right? You're in conversation. Somebody says, "Hey, Sister so and so, I need this." You're like, no, that's area coordinator so and so. What? You just didn't use her title. Oh, I'm usually. Oh, I'm bad. I'm sorry. Because they'll be embarrassed, especially if there's other people standing here, and like, because people are like, ooh, you messed up, and usually they'll go, oh yeah, my bad, yeah, area coordinator so and so, could you come to my church next week? I'm so sorry, I forgot your title. That's my bad. That usually if you call people on it, especially if you do it the first time, if you don't call them upon it, the later you don't call somebody on not respecting the title, the harder it's going to be. So if you let them get away with it once, twice, 3, 4, a dozen, 10 dozen times, several years, you're not going to get it back. And it like I said, it spreads. So you get one person not respecting, people around them tend to follow them, especially if they're a leader in their own area. So until they're called upon it, usually by another outside person. Usually at that point, you can't fix it. It takes somebody coming in and calling them on it. I've visited churches and had them disrespecting their director. They weren't respecting the director. The title's director, and they wouldn't respect the title director. And I just call them right on it, right there. Boom. First sign of disrespect, director. I'm like, excuse me. He's the director. We call him sir or director. But people look at you like, oh my word, he just interrupted the whole service. He just took, But usually they feel very embarrassed because usually when you point out proper etiquette, everybody around knows, really, they know in their heart what proper etiquette is. Their mom told them, hopefully. Their grandmother probably definitely told them, right? Everybody has a grandma who's told you how to be respectful. It's something, I would say you learned it in school, but I'm not certain if they teach it much anymore in school. You don't see school teachers called Mr. So-and-so anymore. I personally think it's part of the problem we have in schools is teachers trying to be kids' friends instead of their teachers. But that's a whole other topic. Well, I won't go that way. But it takes somebody from outside a lot of times standing up for the person who lost the respect of the group to set it straight. And sometimes they may have never had the respect. They may have inherited disrespect. Just like that one pastor who I said, right? He came to this church. He had a member who was disrespecting the last pastor. That new pastor never did anything wrong to be disrespected. He inherited a disrespect. And some directors, that happens to them. They inherit a disrespect. Or an area coordinator, any of us, we can inherit a disrespect. And it sometimes takes the new person coming in correcting them, but you got to do it the first time. Like I said, every time you don't correct it, it becomes what is the norm is right. And the bigger of an upset it usually is to correct it. And nobody likes upsets. Nobody likes meltdowns, right? Especially when grown adults melt down. It's we're fine when 2-year-olds do it. We're not fine when 40-year-olds do it, right? We don't want somebody stomping their foot and saying, "I am the director. You will call me that," right? We don't need adults dressing down the other adults for being completely disrespectful, right? So that's my first part on this is respect the titles. Make certain you're careful to use other people's titles, especially in front, right? Casual situations, you can be casual, right? Nothing wrong with that. But when it's time for a title, use a title. Defend the title, because you're not just defending your title, you're defending the person after you's title, right? So you might be area coordinator today, you might be director today, you just might be unit counselor today, right? But somebody's going to come after you. And if you undermine your position, you've undermined the future officers' positions. Whoever it is after you, doesn't matter what level you are, from junior counselor all the way up to club ministry director, you let it go, it's hard to get back. So, be deliberate about your respect. Respect others. Use their proper titles. And have fun if you're Pathfinders, right? They're all good kids. Most of them. A lot of times they just need a good example. Because sometimes, like I said, the schools aren't teaching it. Sometimes families aren't teaching it anymore. Honestly, you may have some kids who never was told to call somebody a Mr. or a Mrs. or a Sir or Director or whatever title you prefer, however you prefer them to address you by. They may have never been asked to do that before in their life. You may be the first person to teach these kids how to be respectful with a title of another person. So you may have your work cut out for you, but that's why we call it ministry, right? We don't always just minister about the gospel. Sometimes we minister about behavior. Sometimes we minister about respect. Sometimes we minister about health, right? And all of it, though, builds our personality, our characters, and God uses those personalities, those characters to help advance His causes. So the better we can work on ourselves, the better the Holy Ghost can work with us, and the better we can be champions for heaven. So good luck with your titles, and I hope this addressed what I was asked to address. I think I did. I got it. If I'm off the mark, let me know, and I'll try again. And my next part of etiquette, we're going to talk about flags. So have a good afternoon, and there should be a button around here for subscribing to my other videos, and please like them and share them with other people so you can use them for your club. And I'll talk to you later. Have a good evening. Bye.